Let's get you ready for the 2021 Georgia football season. Dean Legge and Matt DeBary riding home here on Dog Post again for you. Thanks for listening and watching. Hey, Matt, almost everybody's back.
Yeah, especially on offense. I still can't believe they got Zamir White and James Cook to come back. I thought for sure one of those guys was gone. You'd have some of the younger guys have to step up this year, but probably the most talented running back room in the country. JT Daniels returning after, I guess, 4 games starting where he looked really well, threw for over 400 yards, 2 of those games. George Pickens, maybe the best wide receiver in college football, so many weapons. It's going to come down to the offensive line. But on the defensive side, Jordan Davis, Devonta Wyatt coming back is huge. It's been a really good, week and a half for returning Georgia players for this 21 team.
I think the guys made the right call. I think the only guy that
Yeah.
I would question is Trey Hill leaving to go to the NFL, but that's his call. And Zamir, when you start thinking about, I don't make any mystery about being a big Zamir fan. Hey, look, I I don't know if it's the right call or not, but my suspicion is that he got news he didn't want to get. But focusing forward on 21, you're going to have your returning. I'm assuming it would have to be that JT was the leading passer for the year. He might not be, but
Might not,
he
but
might not be, but it's close. Your returning rushers, your returning receivers. What are they going to do on the? What are we looking at here on the offensive line?
I think if you can find a guy who can solidify the left tackle position, maybe slide Jamari Sawyer inside. But Jamari, I thought, was perfectly adequate at left
Yeah, me
tackle.
too.
Not his ideal position. He just doesn't have the length, but his 5-star talent. There's a reason why he was a top 10 prospect in the country.
Yeah.
I've seen him play tackle in high school at camps. I know he can pass protect, but he's a mauler in the run game. So I think he's better suited for guard. And you went out and got Xavier Trust, who's just an absolute monster for a reason. I think they're going to give him a long look there.
You said trust. Did you mean Amarius?
No,
Well,
Xavier
those are the
Truss.
two. Those are
Yeah.
the two guys. I mean, you look at Truss. I mean,
Yeah.
he looks the part.
Mims is going to have to really develop on. Can he get those edge guys in the SEC? Can he pass protect those guys right now coming from small Bleckley County? I think there's going to be a little bit of a transition there. But I thought Truss played better as the Peach Bowl went on, so I think he's going to get a good look there.
You're going to need to figure out center. I
Was just going to say, is
go
it
ahead.
Erickson? Is it Cedric Van Pran? Granger? I think I really like Clay Webb out of high school. It doesn't look like he's going to be the guy to take that spot, but that's going to be a really solid battle.
Can McClendon play left tackle? So that
I-
sounds like a no. So, but you do have this. I say McClendon definitely will be back at right tackle, right?
I-
And then you're gonna have to deal. You're gonna put Jamari somewhere. You have guys like Erickson who have started, and then you've got guys who have not yet started, like Broderick Jones, Van Pran, and to some degree maybe Ratledge, that are all going to get looks here. I mean, the thing about it is they've got plenty of tackle bodies to deal with that left tackle spot. You've got your right tackle. I think the issue is center and left tackle, which are probably the most important positions on the line. But they do have they have a slew of players that can get them where they got to go. That's what I think.
I mean, it's full of 5-stars. Whoever, unless it's Xavier Truss, a former 3-star, it looks like there's going to be a 5-star tackle taking one of those spots. It's crowded there. Eventually, Tate Ratledge is going to want to earn a starting job. Broderick Jones, he came to Georgia to start. Amarius Mims came to Georgia to start. Some of these guys are going to be beat out. I think Dylan Fairchild is a future starter at guard, maybe for multi-years. I do think getting Justin Schaefer back was big because if he can improve even a little bit, they're going to be really good there.
I didn't say he was a former starter. He is. So, I mean, they've got multiple starters back. You just got to figure out where you're putting them.
Yeah. And again, these are veteran guys now. Jamari's in his 4th year. Justin Schaefer's in his 5th year. McClendon is a 3rd year. He's a redshirt sophomore.
Correct.
So the guys who you feel good about, they've been on the team for a while now, and all 3 of those guys are multi-year starters. Figure out center.
Kirby, you're talking about center.
Left side.
Kirby talked about Van Pran being pretty good. They liked where he was going. There's probably gonna be 2 spots. I would imagine that there's going to be some fighting for. I mean, would Erickson be a candidate at right guard if he's not playing center?
Possibly. Possibly. Again, I think Matt Luka is going to find his guys too. I think there are going to be some battles. I think Justin Schaefer is probably going to solidify one of them just because he came back, probably knowing he was going to start. Jamari knows he's going to start. McClendon has to feel really good about where he stands. But the remainder of the left side, if you're going to stick with Jamari at left tackle and move inside, find your tackle. Then it's up to center.
If it's Xavier Truss, I mean, they didn't just put Xavier Truss out there for no reason. I mean, this is a pretty good Cincinnati defense, and they put him out there, for a reason. They thought he was the best guy for that spot against Cincinnati. What's it going to be like when he's got what do you want to call it, 9 months to
Clemson's defensive line, yeah.
Well, Clemson's D line is really good.
Yeah.
And they did not.
That's where the game's going to be won.
They did not play well in their game against Ohio State, and I don't know that Ohio State's offensive line is a lot better than Georgia's necessarily. Clemson cannot play like it did against Ohio State and expect to beat Georgia. I'll say that on that line, because you got Breesy, you got
Miles Murphy.
Miles Murphy. Those two guys are big deal guys.
Tyler Davis is a monster.
And what also has to be said as well is, Clemson's got to deal with Georgia's defensive line as well, Matt, which is Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt, Trayvon Walker,
Jalen Carter.
Carter. I'm forgetting to say Nolan Smith. They can roll guys in and out of there. Stackhouse has played a lot. Zion Logue is starting to play a lot. Tramel Walthour was in a little. Those are just the linemen. You got Adam Anderson, Quay Walker, Channing Tindall. These are all guys. N'Kobe. This is a good Georgia team, no question.
And there's so much you can do. There's so many guys. I mean, depending on the down and distance. I mean, Kirby. These are his guys that he handpicked out of high school for them this year to, these are his pieces. He's got the puzzle going on. If you third and long, Nolan Smith and Adam Anderson are going to be coming off the edge. That's going to be tough to stop.
But then third and long.
Yeah, on first down, you can put Devontae Wyatt, Jordan Davis, everyone, and just stack that, the middle of the defensive line. I mean, there's so many ways Georgia's defense can win battles and get teams off the field. They're just going to have to figure out the secondary, because the front seven looks like one of the best in football.
Well, the secondary, Tyreek Stevenson leaves to go to Miami, which is hard to explain. You've got Lewis Seen back. You got Brini back, who didn't seem like that was going to be a big deal, but I don't know
he's physical. He blew up two of those screens. I mean,
and then you got two other guys probably, right? And I'm penciling Keely Ringo in there for one of them. Where am I wrong there?
No, if he's healthy, he should be the guy. I think he has the potential to be a first-round pick. Now he just has to prove it. But the size to go along with the speed and the hips, the footwork he has, I think he is absolutely it. Chris Smith, I think, is going to play a lot. But I do think of the freshman, I think Nyland Green from Covington, if he can put some weight on and add more muscle in his arms a little bit, he's still a little too lean. I don't know if he's going to have to continue to add muscle to make sure he can tackle these big receivers he's going to go up against. But he's a fast guy with great technique and fundamentals. But Jalen Kimber, another guy from the 2020 class from Texas, they went out and they liked him a lot. I do think they have some type of a plan for him. He's another guy with speed. So there's some young talent there, but missing Devon Wilson is big. Tyreek Stevenson, a lot of those guys from the 2018 and 2019 class are gone. You're missing four starters. The two corners, Stokes, Campbell, Richard, obviously, at safety, and then Tyreek at star. You're missing four starters. It's not going to be easy to replace.
Well, they're going to have to figure that out, but they're not without resources back there. I mean, Chris Smith and Lewis Seen played pretty well at the end of that season, and then you had Brini come out of nowhere. I'm assuming Ringo will be a player. That gets you 3 of your 5. The question is, is speed going to do something? I don't know. Losing Mark Webb He played a little bit of star for you. Richard didn't play. I mean, does DJ Daniel? I mean, excuse me. Does Daniel from Woodstock? How does he enter into this in any way? Too young?
I think so. I think he's a hybrid, kind of a linebacker. I don't think you want him being the last guy in the back end to make a play in coverage. He's more of a guy who can blitz from the safety position, come and help the run game. He's a hard hitter, but he's a zone cover guy at safety. But they're going to need help from Adam Anderson and Nolan Smith and those guys.
Well, they played stars.
Pressure of any
too,
kind is going to help them.
Didn't Anderson play? There was a real big guy is it Quay Walker that was playing star?
Quay Walker, I did. I think Adam Anderson did more last year, where this year he's like, I'm getting after the passer. I'm not. I think
well,
like, we're done putting you in coverage.
This is not just going to come down to the Clemson game. I don't want to focus so much on that, but I do real quick though. Is Rochester gone for sure?
I think he put out something that he was gone. He was a 2016 guy.
I know. He's the last guy with blue. Him and Demetrius are the last two guys on my list here. I don't know yet what's going on there, but I don't follow.
I don't think D-Rob's made a statement either.
Well, he's running out of time. If you're going to leave, you got tomorrow, which is Monday. We're recording this over the weekend. You got Monday. You look at this schedule, Matt. And we don't have the schedule. I mean, we know that they're going to open with Clemson, and we know that they're going to go to Jacksonville, and we know they play in Atlanta to play the Jackets. Here are the 5 dates that we quote know. I mean, the Florida game, we don't even know that for sure, but we like 99%. So Saturday the 4th, Clemson. That will be a night game in Charlotte. Then you come home to play UAB. Then we don't know from that point forward until they play the Gators October 30th, the day before Halloween. Charleston Southern the week before Tech, and then you play Tech the Saturday after Thanksgiving in Atlanta. Here are the teams that you play on the road in the SEC that we know of. Okay, because there are 7 other games. You go to Auburn, you go to Tennessee, and you go to Vanderbilt. I'm not sure I see them losing any of those games.
No. This is the easy travel year for us. I forgot about that.
Auburn's
nice.
Auburn's not a great situation for me and you, but could they lose at Auburn?
They could. I don't. With new head coach. Can Bo Nix work with Mike Bobo? That doesn't seem like his type of guy. But I think Bobo's a really good coach, so you never know. I don't see them beating this Georgia team, though.
Tennessee?
No. When is the Auburn game? Is that early in the season again?
Yeah, it's going to be early.
I don't see that happening. Tennessee, they might have a new coach.
The coldest Georgia-Tennessee game we've ever seen in the history of the world. That will be in middle November. Then the home games against Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri, and Carolina. Is Missouri the best team that's going to come to Athens, or is it going to be Arkansas?
It depends on how they're playing at the time. It has to be one of those two. But is Felipe Franks coming back? No. I don't know. Then it probably is Missouri. I think they've got a little bit more returning. I think they have a little bit more talent.
So this really comes down to the two teams in Georgia's schedule who the base of their helmet is orange. This is Florida and Clemson. I think that the more important game is the one with the Gators for sure.
Yeah, I think Georgia needs to win the game against Clemson more than Clemson needs to win. Clemson could lose to Georgia, run the table, and they're still in. Yeah. Where if Georgia has that win over Clemson, that's going to be huge just the rest of the way, especially if Clemson continues to win. But
they're not
either way,
lose. I mean, I can read Clemson's schedule off real quick to you.
Yeah.
If you'd like.
But either way, the game's going to come down to Jacksonville. But if they lose to Florida, they're probably not going to be able to sneak in. They're not going to play in an SEC title game, even with that win against Clemson. You lose to Florida, it seems like
well, I don't know.
It's all down the drain.
Maybe it's hard to know. It would depend how good that Clemson team would be perceived as. But this is what Clemson is going to be going on. We have 4 games that we know of for them too. They got Georgia, South Carolina State, and then UConn, and they play at Carolina. They're going to play Boston College, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest. They play at Louisville, at NC State, at Pitt, and at Syracuse. Now, they have struggled through the years with the last 3 teams Our last four: Louisville, NC State, Pitt, and Syracuse have all either had them beaten or beaten them. But they're not gonna. I mean, I don't see it. Do you?
Yeah. No. I mean, they're going to take a step back. I
Yeah.
like the
But
quarterback. He's not Trevor. They don't have
so is their
ETN.
schedule. So is their schedule. They're not
Yeah.
playing Notre Dame.
They always have an easy schedule, and this might be their easiest one. I mean, thank God they play Georgia, or else they would get laughed at all
they
year.
played at Wake, Citadel, Virginia, Miami, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Boston College, at Notre Dame, loss, Pitt.
They play North Carolina, right?
No,
Did you say them?
They do not play North Carolina.
No Notre Dame, no North Carolina. That's as easy it gets for them. And again, they could lose to Georgia and be perfectly fine. So
yeah,
they got a nice little setup going over there.
They do. They certainly do. I don't know. I mean, Miami opens with Bama at the Dome, so that's one game that's kind of halfway interesting, I guess you could say. But do you? What does Georgia have to do? Or is this coming down to those two games? Seems like it.
Yeah. You have to beat Florida. You have to beat Florida every year if you want to achieve your goals. That's not a game you can lose to and sneak around, or we haven't seen it happen. It doesn't happen. You have to beat Florida. And I guess if Georgia runs the table after a loss to Clemson, they're still in anyway.
Yeah.
But there's no room for error. If you lose to Clemson, you really do have to run the table. But you had to beat Florida anyway.
So Oklahoma is the other team a lot of people are going to be talking about. At Tulane, which is awesome, by the way. I mean, no chance of losing. But at Tulane, Western Carolina, Nebraska at home. So that's the old rivalry comes back. They will kick Nebraska's teeth in. At Baylor, at Kansas, at K-State, Iowa at home. Iowa State at home, which is the game everybody's going to circle. TCU, Texas Tech, West Virginia, at Oklahoma State, and Texas in the Cotton Bowl.
Oh, Texas! That could be a fun Cotton Bowl for the next few years.
Could be tricky.
I
mean, a little more tricky.
Sark knows what he's doing. He gets him a quarterback in there, and I think they could score 40 points a game. I don't know who's going to fix the defense over there. I don't know if he's hired a guy yet, but
when you look at this Georgia situation, you'll know pretty quick, probably by halftime, if Georgia's any good. Wouldn't you say of the Clemson game?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're down 10,
it's not a great. You have all off season to prepare.
Yeah.
You know what you're going to run the first 2 or 3 drives. We're going to see how good they are, how they try to get George Pickens the ball early. How many carries do some of the other backs get other than Zamir and James?
Blaylock coming back.
That's our guy too. 2 knee injuries though. It's hard to have a lot of expectations, but if anyone can do it, I'm not putting it past Dom.
You got him as well, Burton.
Yeah. You have to throw it deep to Arian Smith.
I forgot about him.
The talent's there. And if those guys step up, that's going to make it easier for George. The more single coverage you give George, the better he's going to be.
Well, he's – I'm not – and we didn't talk about Kieras.
Yeah.
George is not uncoverable. Nobody is uncoverable. But you do have to decide what are we going to do. I think I've forgotten the Clemson defensive coordinator's name all of a sudden, Brent Venables. But – when you really are going to have to win one-on-one matchups, I mean, they're going to have to win on the line. If they don't win on the line, Georgia's going to score some points. Because, I
think they should anyway. Clemson's losing. Their secondary is not great, and they're losing guys there.
Yeah.
The linebackers are made up of Brent Venables' kid, a couple 3-stars that are playing better than their ranking. I mean, Georgia's more talented.
Yes.
And it's not in Clemson. It's in I don't know what.
Well, the other thing, I was talking to somebody that would know, I guess, and I said, "Do you think this game will be full?" And their response was, "I'm not sure."
So for COVID stuff.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, do you think it would be 50-50 if it were full, or do you think one team maybe has a little bit? Okay.
In Charlotte, No,
I don't know how many Georgia folks are up in Charlotte. I've never been to Charlotte.
Plenty, but that's not. I mean, this is a Georgia pro. I mean, We're talking about a program that every single year goes and plays a game in another state and brings 42,000 fans. So traveling to a state that is touching your state to bring
Not going to be a big deal.
not going to be a big deal. I do wonder to some degree, and I know we'll talk about this ad nauseum. What else are we going to talk about? I mean, what is Clemson's mindset coming into this, season? Run it back or unfinished business. At Georgia, that slogan or term, that makes a lot of sense. At Clemson, the guys that would be running it back left. I mean,
Yeah.
Travis is gone. Trevor is gone. The left tackle has left. They're not running it back. This is a new situation at Clemson.
They're going to play the no one believes in us card. Trevor's
They're
gone.
good
No
at
one
that,
believes
too.
in us.
No,
Everyone
he's-
against us. Yeah. No one thinks we can do it again. They're going to play that card all season. And we already know it. They're probably already got slogans up in the weight room.
Yeah. Well, we just talked about that they might not lose a game, and the only game they would lose would be against Georgia. So
Yeah.
I don't know about the nobody believes in
They're
us.
going to be ready. They're going to be
Well,
ready.
he does a good job. They do have a stinker every now and then, but they in big games for the most part they've been ready to play. Now big games lately has been a lot more suspect for them, but I would argue that the 2019 championship game was a buzzsaw, and they were not going to win that game apparently no matter what. The Ohio State game, I'm having a hard time reconciling that game. I recorded it. I talked to you about it. I thought that Clemson would play better. I thought Clemson. We both thought Clemson would win that game. And then you watch the game, and you're sitting there going, "What is happening right now? Like, why are they not just that they're losing, but why are their big guys getting beat so bad?"
The game started, and I was watching it with my Clemson buddy, and I was like, "Dude,
I thought they'd win.
yeah. Y'all could roll here, dude." I was just adding that to him, pissing him off so much. I said, "This is gonna be a blowout, man. Congrats." And it was a blowout the other way around as soon as I started making those comments.
Well,
but
they couldn't stop. Matt, can you explain to me why they couldn't stop the run?
Trey Sermon's good, and he could break tackles past the line of scrimmage, but their offensive line was really good this year. Wyatt Davis, those two tackles, St. Pierre, and the other kid, they're really good.
And some of those guys didn't play in that game.
The Clemson game?
For Ohio State, yeah.
For Ohio State. Maybe I don't know what they gave Justin Fields in that tent, but he turned into like a robot. Those ribs came back to normal. He was just slinging that ball down the field. And I still think he's going to be a really, really good NFL player. But he had his game, and Clemson's secondary would just look lost, and he knew it. And he said, "I'm going to get my playmakers down the field." Those dudes were wide open.
So hold on. Then. When you start thinking about Clemson's situation, because and I said this to you on the way back, and I said it to Dylan and all this stuff, but like you sit there and you watch them, you're like, man, these guys are way better than everybody they're playing.
Until they play a good quarterback.
Well, hold on.
Book threw all over them. And
how good are they?
Yeah.
And it's really hard to know. Like so what we'll see in the first quarter and the second quarter against Georgia is the same thing like we go to college football playoff is we think Clemson's good, but we can't know. We don't know. That's the part that I think is going to be so tricky here is what will that game what should people really expect in that game?
Yeah. I think they should expect points. I mean, if every quarterback that Clemson's defense went against did well on him. The first game, Ian Book threw for 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. We saw what Justin Fields did to him. Now they played really well against Ian Book in the ACC title game. They stepped up then, but against adequate quarterback play, they're going to give up points. They're going to give up yards if the other opponent knows what they're doing offensively.
That ACC championship game is the best Clemson's played in the last couple of years, frankly. I mean, going back to the Alabama game in 2018. Their defense, though, performed, man. I mean, Wake scored 13. Citadel didn't score. Virginia was 23. Miami 17. I was at that game. It was not close. Georgia Tech scored 7. Syracuse scored 28. Then they started getting to a stretch here where they allowed a couple, more points than you'd think you'd like. Syracuse, a bad Syracuse team, 21. Boston College, 28. They were leading in the fourth against Clemson. And then, of course, they allowed 47 against Notre Dame. 17-10. then 10, and then 49. So, I mean, if you look at that versus what Georgia did, I don't know how it's a lot different.
Yeah. And I would say Georgia has more coming back on defense, even though they're missing 4 starters in a secondary.
Well, they do
they're
have a
missing
lot
Aziz.
coming back. When you look at Georgia, they allowed 10, 6, 21, one of which was not, the defense was not out there, 41, 3, 44, 24, 16, 14, 21. Is that the same as what Clemson allowed? I mean, Clemson allowed a few more times. Clemson allowed, in the 20s. I mean, how many times did Georgia not allow more than 21 points? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. 70% of their games, they did not allow more than 3 touchdowns. And one of those was that Tennessee game. For Clemson, it was 1, 2, 3. Let me make sure I got that right. They allowed it 4 times. So similar, like I was saying, similar.
Yeah.
I would argue that Clemson was not dealing with what Georgia was. But I would also not argue that Georgia was dealing with some sort of, great offensive juggernaut in some of those teams.
And if Georgia played Vanderbilt, that would be another one that they wouldn't have given
well,
up,
and if Clemson had played Florida State, that would be another one. Wouldn't you
yeah,
think?
that's true.
I would
Yeah.
think. But, I just don't know. I am curious to see what the line will be when this game comes out. I mean, that's the part that I'm
When did
curious.
the first rankings come out?
Well, we're going to talk about that on our next video. Yeah. Make sure you watch. Thanks for watching. Dean Legge from Dog Post. Matt DeBary. Thanks for watching Riding Home.